says what?
I want to play a game.
I see dead people.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein!
We are the weirdos, mister.
Welcome to the Horror Speaks podcast.
Welcome back, Weirdos of the Night, to Horror Speaks podcast. I'm Sydney, and I'm joined, of course, by
Jason,
Whitney,
and Michael.
And tonight we're going to be talking about all things paranormal.
spooky.
Whitney told me I couldn't talk about Paranormal in this review either.
Oh my goodness,
You
that
can be
movie
an
was
honorable
good.
mention.
That's a good one. It is.
No.
But is it really your favorite? No.
So, what do we all think about paranormal
Movies.
movies and such?
Well, does everyone believe in ghosts?
To an extent.
I definitely do, just because of past things that have happened to me when I was younger. I think I was at my aunt's house or something, and I basically woke up at in the middle of the night. I don't know exactly what time it was.
Well, let's give a backstory of where you lived too when you were a kid.
So I lived in New Orleans, Louisiana, born and raised. So it's got a lot of history in the town. There's a lot of history in my family. And so anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night because I was thirsty. I wanted to get a glass of water. I go get a glass of water and I see this rocking chair that had nobody in it. There was no windows, nothing was open to let wind in. And the rocking chair just started rocking vigorously, back and forth so fast. And I just stood there and I was like, what in the crap is happening? And so I run back to where my aunt was sleeping and I just told her everything. And she was like, go back to bed, go back to bed. She didn't really believe me, but ever since then, I've just felt this strange, if I go into a house or if I go into an area, I'll just feel this, I could feel the eerie feeling of either a ghost or some type of presence in the air. I don't know. It's weird. So yes, I do believe.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I do. There was, back when I think I was 16, 17, I was hanging out with this buddy of mine named Joe, and he was out in Hamptons in New York. And we went to this graveyard that was near where, he and his girlfriend lived, and they were getting married or something like that. I may have been 18, whatever. But anyways, we went out there and there was a light there, and there was this grave that was near this, kind of behind this tree, just outside of where the light faded. And I'll never forget it. And we walked toward it. And at one moment, it's I just kind of stopped. I felt like I couldn't go any further. And it was a negative feeling. And Joe came up behind me, and I put my arm out, against him. And I'm like, just, I think we need to go. It was just a bad fucking time.
Yeah.
And he felt it too. And we shined a light over on the gravestone, which was, I don't know, 10 feet away, 5 feet, something like that. And we just left, we were just talking about it for a while. Just the way it made us feel. It was almost like a physical structure, but there was nothing there. It was the weirdest fucking thing. So I believe in negative energy. I believe that there's shit in this world we should not be screwing around with.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I had an instance too when I was younger. I don't remember it because I think I was so young. But my parents told me about it. I honestly can't remember any details about it, but I know my parents told me about it. And then my aunt used to live across the street from a pet cemetery, and we would see lights flickering on the little pet headstones.
Ooh.
And stuff. But I've always had like Whitney said, a sense of eeriness going into the dark. I'm not necessarily afraid of the dark, more so what's in the dark. When I walk through the house, I'll turn the lights on when I'm walking through, especially if I'm by myself. I'm when you stayed at Blue Ridge and I came back and stayed by myself, scary. I slept on the couch. I won't sleep in the bedroom one. That's way too far back in the dark, and fuck all of that.
I also believe that the old house that we used to live in was definitely haunted.
We're talking about the first house?
The Hopewell house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because wasn't there like some lights flickering and then like there's just things out of place, and then that attic was just super scary. Like there was a whole room up there and it was just weird. It felt like weird vibes.
We also lived in a 3-story townhouse in like Old Town Petersburg that was used for a carriage house. Like it had like one of those historic plaques on it, and I'm pretty sure that was haunted too.
I can see
that shit was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't really have any instances. Like I said, I turn all the lights on when I'm walking through. I won't sleep in the bedroom alone. I'll have to sleep out here. And when we go to bed, the door has to be like cracked, not shut all the way.
Just enough for the
It's
animals to get in and out.
If a ghost comes in, I want to know he's coming in, but I don't, because he'll open the door.
And we never sleep with our toes out.
And I'll just be like,
nope.
And we always sleep with the TV on and fan on. So if one turns off, there's always noise coming from somewhere.
Yeah, no, it can't be dead silent. I feel that.
No way.
Yeah. The house I grew up in Oklahoma with, like, my mom moved out eventually, but we all lived there at one point, and we had some pretty scary stuff happen there. Like, there was times where, so apparently there was only 2 other people that ever lived in the house before we lived there, and she didn't die there, but he did. But there would be times where, like, the house would smell, like, and I say smell, it would reek of, like, old lady's perfume. Like in
that musky
that bathroom. Yeah. And then there would be times where it just smelled like straight up death. Like we'd take all the trash out. We'd, do, because, sometimes like food in the disposal like can get gross. We make sure that was clear, no rotten food, and it would just smell like absolute death. There's a whole bunch of other stories, but that's a different podcast.
Well, the smell of death is like eggs, right?
Yeah, it would smell like putrid eggs or just like sulfur.
Yeah.
Like just putrid.
Did you guys have like a well?
No.
Oh, okay.
We were in the city.
I was going to say, because maybe like, I know sometimes with wells, you have like that nasty smell of eggs.
Yeah, no, we were in the city.
I get that when I eat beans.
Oh my gosh.
Jason's stomach is his well.
But yeah, no, there's lots of stories from that house, but I'll save that for a different episode.
Yeah. Well, I think tonight we're going to get into collectively our top paranormal movies. What we think are our favorite. We'll just go through and discuss.
Yeah, I think I'll go into the first movie that really got my attention. This movie came out in 2016. It's called Lights Out. It was directed by David F. Sandberg. The movie is, this is just a short synopsis of it. So in case anybody hasn't seen it or anything, they can kind of get an idea of what the movie is about. So Lights Out is about a terrifying entity that is tethered to a family's mother that only comes out when the lights are out and is incredibly dangerous. I cannot speak. The movie starts off with a weird figure that has claw-like hands roaming around in a workplace, and chaos unfolds, which really sets the plot for this movie. I think it did not disappoint when it comes to the amount of jump scares that's in this movie. It just starts the moment that the movie begins. It just starts and it just does not end. They did really great with not making this a super slow burn, like I said, because it does, like, from the moment that the movie starts, it does kind of go into chaos. They do a great job at building up the excitement, and you're just kind of like wanting to see what happens next. You're wanting more of the movie, and I think that's a really good concept to it. Another great concept of this movie is that they used was, how are you going to kill something that you can't see? I think that is really, you don't really see that in many of these like paranormal movies or just horror movies in general. Like, you always either see the killer, or if it's a demon, you perform an exorcist. So it's kind of cool to see the concept in this movie of like, how in the heck are you going to kill this mysterious monster thing that's lurking in the dark that only comes out when the lights are out and stuff. So I think that's really cool. But basically, you find out in this movie, and spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie, is that in order to kill this monster figure, you have to have some sort of light turned on or flashed at the monster. And I think it's a pretty fun, spooky movie. Definitely watch it with the lights off because it just adds more depth to this movie. Overall, I think it's like a 10 out of 10 for me. It's just one of those that it doesn't have a great plot, but it also just scares the shit out of me. Like, it's one of those that is just terrifying.
So I've never seen this movie. This is a 2016 movie. It had Teresa Palmer in it, which was the co-star of Warm Bodies.
Mm.
I didn't know that. And it also, going back to all of our other episodes, a movie that we love, Twilight, it has, that's a joke. It has the dad from Twilight in it.
Oh, cool.
Billy Burke.
Carlisle. Oh no, Bella's dad.
Yeah,
Bella's
I love
dad.
Carlisle. Carlisle's a boss.
Carlisle's great.
Oh yeah, he's a pretty nice.
I've never
looking
seen
man.
him. I've never seen the movie though, but I know it's 2016, so it's fairly newish.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that like it doesn't have like the greatest plot, but it's just one that if you want to be scared and if you enjoy jump scares, then it's definitely one of those that you're gonna want to watch because it's just, I mean, from the moment that the movie begins, it's just chaos.
I mean, it got rated 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Google says it's scary enough to entertain.
Yeah, it's a fun, spooky movie to watch with the lights off if you dare.
Nice.
I like it.
So
Check
Cool.
that out.
So I think, which way are we going? We're going
All right.
all right, counterclockwise today, folks.
All right. So one of my favorites, and I've only really seen this recently, is I think 2016 was the first time, was The Legend of Hell House. And that was directed by John Hoff, written by Richard Matheson of I Am Legend fame, starring Roddy McDowall, Gail Honeycutt, Pamela Franklin, and Michael Goff, who was Alfred in Tim Burton's Batman.
Love Tim
Oh,
Burton's
he was
Batman.
also in a lot of, a few of the Hammer horror films, which I really love. So the plot of this is a team consisting of a physicist, his wife, a young female psychic, and the only survivor of the previous visit are sent to the notorious Hell House to prove or disprove survival after death. Previous visitors have either been killed or gone mad, and it is up to the team to survive a full week in isolation and solve the mystery of the Hell House. And that's the bloody, disgusting summary there. And this movie was, I think they do build suspense. They've got some really neat special effects that they did. And some of it was just like, magic tricks, just kind of sleight of hand sort of thing. But I think what really got me was the acting is great. The suspense is good. The tension is good. The location where they filmed in this house is gorgeous and it really pulls you in. And I think what got me really was when you watch it to the end really ties it all up for you. And it made me want to go back and watch it again. Very suspenseful, very original. I really dug it. And it's one that I own. I'll pull it out and watch it every once in a while. Good stuff.
Do you think that the new Hell Houses, because I've never seen the movie, but from what I'm hearing you talk about, do you think the new Hell Houses took homage to it?
I think it's possible. I mean,
Sounds about the same.
Are you talking about like the Hell House LLC kind of movies? I could totally see the guy who wrote the people who wrote and directed it being fans.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a direct, like adaptation or anything like that. I could see inspirations maybe.
Okay. Yeah. It was filmed in Oxfordshire, those giant buildings out there. That's cool. Yeah. I did a bunch of Redditing last night, and people say it's kind of like one of their top horror movies of all time.
Yeah, it's a good flick. It's a really good flick. But it's got, I think more than like jump scares or anything that, like that, it's got just an intellect. It's got a sense of intelligence to it. And I think that's really, I mean, I don't know. It's just important. Like when you're watching a film of that nature, because they can get really stupid. And this one really holds itself together well. And the rewatch value, I think, is very high.
I'll definitely have to check that one out. I feel like it's one that I need to watch.
It's very cool. But then also at the same time, you have to remember it was filmed, like in a different country, in a different time. There's different, cultural, sort of differences in the way films are made. And also it was a different time. So they were just made differently. But I think that's a huge part of its charm.
Apparently, it's also inspired by Shirley Jackson's The The House? The Haunting of Hill House. God damn, I can't talk. That was a sentence with a lot of H's.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently it's inspired by that. So
It's a good flick. I like it very much, and I like the director too. He's done a few other movies that I love.
yeah, I feel like that's one of our weaknesses. We don't watch enough older movies, and I feel like we need to.
But if you like Universal films, you know how it's just Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman. I feel like Hammer is like the alternate dimension of Universal films, except for what they do with their films is considerably more twisted and fucked up than Universal.
Yeah.
And I just really got into them, and I just love them.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll take that over Universal any day.
Yeah.
And this was in that sort of like time period, in that niche, you know. So it kind of it's not a Hammer film, but it kind of feels like one. It's sort of alongside that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's check it out.
Yeah. So the first one I'm going to talk about is When Evil Lurks, 2023. Damien Rugna directed this movie. In a remote village, two brothers find a demon-infected man just about to give birth to evil itself. They decide to get rid of the body, only to end up unintentionally spreading chaos. So this one is probably one of the scariest I've seen in the last decade, personally. I've watched it probably 3 times. It's super scary. It's Spanish.
Yeah, I was looking at the cast, see if I noticed anybody.
No, yeah, it's Spanish, but it was so good. We saw it in the theaters. It was so disturbing.
Very original.
Very original and very like impending doom, because a lot of the scare about these paranormal entities and things is you can't see them. So how, like Whitney said earlier, how are you going to run from something you can't see, defeat something you can't see, fight something you can't see? It's just so scary because it's literally everywhere that you are anytime it wants to be. And this one just does a really good job of that impending doom, the chasing, the thrill. It's just so good.
Yeah, there's a very thick sense of hopelessness and dread that it's so palpable you could cut it with a knife. And then the fact also that it's, again, this sense of hopelessness that you can't outrun it, you can't defeat it. And no matter where you go or what you do, it will catch up to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do some really interesting things in this movie that are quite shocking.
Yeah.
And I love his style. He did Terrified as well, which was also another paranormal film where actually a suburban encounter with, otherworldly entities is being investigated by a small group of paranormal experts. And it's good stuff. I would recommend both of those.
Yeah, definitely seen it on the streaming platform, so I definitely have been wanting to check it out. So that definitely sounds
it
like
got like a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yeah, it's
pretty brutal.
Maybe that's a movie we can watch tonight.
And a 4.5 on Shudder.
It is
You should.
brutal though.
It's brutal.
Just saying.
But it's like wicked.
It's very subtle.
Yeah. That's the wickedness of it. Like, that's not too overly gory. There is some blood and some pretty tough scenes, but they don't overdo it with the gore as much as like the idea.
Yeah.
They make it part of almost just like everyday life and occurrences while you're busy doing something or arguing with someone. Just happens. And it's more, I think it's more jarring that way, because it's almost like, because then the shock kicks in, and it's like, okay, now you have to deal with it. And the way he orchestrates it is just fantastic.
Would you say that it's like realistic?
I'd say far more realistic than a lot of the paranormal, supernatural exorcism films. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not really exorcism, but
to give that as an idea.
And, possession. I mean,
possession, demon.
But it's almost like she said, it's almost like possession in the flesh, like a disease, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and it's pretty amazing.
Definitely we'll check that out maybe tonight.
We walked out of there just like our minds were
10 out of 10?
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Easily.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah, I feel like most of my list, except for one, is movies that I feel like could semi happen, and I feel like that's what makes paranormal movies more scary to me. Is like I put myself in that position, and I'm like, damn, this would be crazy.
Yeah.
But my top one, and I know it's kind of weird with you, but
Go for it.
my top one is 2010 James Wan's Insidious.
That's a good
I
one.
fucking love Insidious. Like there's nothing that's not scary about that movie. Like that movie's just except for the red demon guy. And the first time I saw the movie, when I saw the red demon guy, I was like, that guy looks stupid. Like that is the epitome of like if I were to draw
It's
the
like Darth
devil,
Maul.
if I were to draw the Darth Maul in a devil costume
with a baboon nose.
Yeah. And a workshop, that would be that guy. But now that I've watched it a few times and kind of understood it a little bit more, and by a few I mean probably 50 because it's one of my favorites, I've kind of understood it a little bit more. But if you don't know anything about the movie, it's it's done by James Wan, who does like all of those incredible movies. He does Saw is one of my top favorite movies too.
Well, that first one was just amazing.
Yeah. But it stars Patrick Wilson, who is also Ed Warren in James Wan's The Conjuring. And then Rose, I'm gonna butcher this. Byrne?
Mhm.
It could be Byrne, who's in 28 Weeks Later. Follows a Lambert family who moves into a new home in hopes of starting fresh. The story centers on a married couple whose boy inexplicably enters a comatose state and becomes a vessel for a variety of demonic entities in the astral plane. It starts out fucking terrifying because you just see her kind of like wake up, and then that typical James Wan like creepy violin sound comes on. That sounds
good.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna pick up, but if it doesn't, I'll throw some violin sounds in there. But that sound terrifies me, and that's what made this movie so good to me. But their boy, one of their two sons, goes into like a comatose state, and they think he's in a coma, so they take him to the hospital. He stays in the hospital for a while. After a while, they just bring him home because they're like, his state's not going to be any different. So why does he need to be in the hospital? Let's just take him home. He can be here. Then they end up calling paranormal investigators, which is Elise and Specs and Tucker, I think was his name.
Mm.
But Specs was also the co-star in Saw. He was the other guy in Saw, not the doctor, but the other guy that was in there with him, the younger guy.
Yeah, in the bathtub.
Yeah, in the bathtub. Yep. So, they call Elise. Elise comes. Elise does her investigations. They find out that he's actually not in a coma. He's just in another world. He's quote unquote traveling.
Astro
projecting. He's traveling the astral plane. And they find out that he's actually done it for a long time. And he just hasn't done it as intense as he's done it now. And now he's just stuck. He's stuck in the astral plane. So in order to get him back, they have to go into what Elise calls the further and just bring him back from there. And you find out that Elise has actually known the family for a long time because the dad is part of, is one of those Voyagers too that can go into the astral plane. And it all started with him, and that's why his son is able to do all these weird voyages. But I just love the movie. Other than what a lot of other people call him, the lipstick monster. I just loved it. It was good.
It was a cool concept, and I remember watching it, and I thought it was definitely creepy, and it got really intense. But the thing that lost me was, the devil at his workshop, and I saw that, and I was like, "Give me a break.
Just get past. Just get past that part.
Just get back to where you were.
Just don't even worry about him. He's not there. But while you see the devil in his workshop, just think of Tiny Tim playing on like late night talk shows, singing "Tiptoe through the window."
Yeah.
Just think of that, because that song. Remember the other day we were talking about I like movies where a song will stick in my head for days.
Yeah,
that is fucking one. That is a
Barbara Hershey was in that one too.
Yeah,
but that's also because what's his name? James Wan. He's a big fan of The Entity, which is my number 2.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think The next movie that was definitely up there for me as far as paranormal movies and just demon movies in general, and everyone's going to enjoy this one, is The Evil Dead. This is going to be the 2013 reboot of the classic 1981 horror. So this movie, oh my goodness, like it is one of those movies that I feel like I can watch over and over and over and over again and never get like tired of it. So it follows a group of friends who gather at a remote cabin to help one of them, Mia, who is played by the lovely Jane Levy, overcome her drug addiction. However, their plans take a terrifying turn when they discover the Book of the Dead and unwittingly summon a demonic force. As the evil presence possess them one by one, the group must fight for survival in a nightmarish battle against an ancient evil. I feel like this movie is a perfect recipe for a horror movie because there's literally tension between all of the characters. It definitely has all the aspects and what you would think of a horror movie being. Mia, who's played by Jane, hasn't seen her brother in years. Therefore, he hasn't seen his friends in years. The friends are resentful that he hasn't visited and are pretty resentful of Mia, who hasn't visited since she had made multiple promises to try and get sober. And they just don't have a whole lot of confidence in her going into this whole meetup / what would you call it? Drug intervention. So they just don't have a whole lot of confidence in her going into this thing. Me and her brother's mother had also just passed away prior to their meeting, and he never went to go see their mom when she passed, so there's more tension to come. And something that demons feed off of a lot is tension. So, of course, since Mia is very vulnerable and weak-minded, she is the one that gets possessed after one of her friends, who is the smart nerd character. I forget who plays him, but he is literally the golden boy of this movie. He basically comes across the Book of the Dead and happens to read it out loud, which you're not supposed to do that. And you figure out why you're not supposed to do that in this movie. I think the beauty of this movie is that it's very fast paced. There's demons, terror, torture, and gore. It makes up pretty much 90% of what this movie is. Mia wreaks a lot of havoc upon her friends and family. One of my favorite all-time favorite scenes, and I think Fangoria has this on cover of their magazine too, is where one of the friends tries to ward Mia off with a blade. She then takes the blade and licks it and splits her tongue in half. That scene was so great, like gory, just intense, like chaos. I think there was another scene in the movie where one of her friends were in the kitchen and she took I guess it was like a shaving tool to shave like turkey and like chicken and like meat or whatnot, and she was just sitting there taking and carving her arm off. It was brutal. The movie's just 10 out of 10 brutal. Jane Levy, who plays Mia, is super, super good at showing that she is visually afraid in this movie, to where she can like widen her eyes super big. Her pupils are dilated. I mean, you can tell that she really took this role and made it her own, because throughout the whole entire movie, you can see how terrified she was. If you've never seen this remake, I absolutely think that you should put this on the list and definitely check out the original, but then this one. And I think what's the Evil Dead Rising? That one was okay, but I feel like the remake of the Evil Dead is a lot better. So,
well, there's one thing amazing about the tongue split, the box cutter scene, is if you watch when she's slitting her tongue in half, one of her eyes just kind of like twitches to the side.
Yeah.
And it's like excruciating to watch when you take all of what's going in. I mean, yeah, that was such a great movie. I absolutely love the original Evil Dead, but I have to say, I think this remake is my 51%. Fede Alvarez did an amazing job with making this reboot his own and not retreading too much. And that was, one of the reasons I was a little surprised with Alien Romulus is because he did a lot of that in that. But this one, he really almost even kind of expanded on it, got more into the, the nastiness of being possessed by these things. It's a nasty film. I mean, it's dirty, it's grimy, it's gory.
It's bloody.
It's bloody as hell, and it's just and the practical effects and just everything. I mean, it just had all the right notes.
Yeah, like I said, it's literally a perfect recipe for what a horror movie should be, and I think that's why. I mean, I'm already into gore and all that nasty stuff, so I feel like this movie is the perfect blend of everything. It's got tension between everybody. It's got the possession, demonic forces, and I think even the book, like the Book of the Dead, if you pay attention in the reboot, then you'll see like the beauty of the images inside of the book. It's super, super. I think it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, I was thinking about the blood in that movie and how there was just so much, and I had to look it up because I remember it broke like records at the time for the amount of fake blood it used, and it was like 50 to 70,000 gallons of fake blood.
Yeah,
that is a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
imagine me putting 50,000 gallons of water into the back of your car. I put 2 in there today.
Now, a funny thing is, at first when I saw it, there was this thing, with the, because the way she talks to people is kind of almost a little like, with the way Linda Blair spoke to her mother in The Exorcist. And I kind of, that tweaked me a little bit at first, but I got past that pretty quick because that movie is really freaking dark and just really sick. And I mean, it's really what everything I would have wanted out of a remake of that film. And I think there's a great moment that I'd like to share with you. When I saw it in the theater, we saw it in a theater, and there were some folks sitting up to the right, of myself. And the scene where she comes out and she's like, you're all going to die tonight. And she pees on the floor. And, the steam comes up. There's this guy in the corner that goes, "Oh, man, she got the hot piss." And I was like, oh, this is going to be a good time. And it was.
I just loved Jane's performance in this movie. Like I said, she's able to widen her eyes. I think that one scene where she's just like, it's like an up close of her and her eyes, and we can tell that her pupils are dilated like that. You could just tell that she really put herself into this role and really played this character, Mia, as if it was her own self. And I just think, this movie it was beautiful. It was hoary, gory, disgusting. All of the above for a horror movie.
Yeah, she was terrified.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what else she was in. She was in Don't Breathe, which was great. Mm-hmm. She was also in Castle Rock.
Oh, cool.
And we talked about Castle Rock a couple episodes ago, or last episode maybe. But yeah, loved it. Solid.
I give that one a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely a 10 out of 10. It's one of those movies that I find that if it comes on Pluto or whatever, and if I just want to put on a movie, I could just literally play that over and over, and I will never get tired of it.
It was funny though, because it came on like maybe a month ago, and Whitney was brushing her teeth, and I was already in bed, and I was like, "Whitney, can you guess what movie's on by the sounds?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's Evil Dead."
Yeah, I've seen that movie probably more than I can recall.
And also, there's the other scene that really kind of freaked me out a little bit was when she's in the woods and the demon regurgitates that worm or whatever, and it crawls across the pond and up her leg. You know where it went.
Yeah,
that was
and then she takes this deep breath, and it's absolutely silent for a few seconds. Yeah. And she just lets out with this blood curdling scream that just, I get that white, that cold like feeling whenever I hear it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, that
was a good movie. It was one of the remakes that I enjoyed. There's a few remakes that stick in my head, and we'll talk about those in another episode.
Oh yeah. That's what we got to do that. Remakes, good remakes.
Mm-hmm. Or bad remakes.
Well, that's it.
Talk about them all.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. Because fuck them. That's why.
Because fuck them. That's right. So my second favorite, I think, is The Entity, with directed by Sidney J. Fury, written by Frank D. Felitta. Sorry, not duh. Barbara Hershey, Ron Silver. The acting in this movie is great. Barbara Hershey was incredible. She carried this film. And really what this is about, it's based on true events, and it's about a woman who is assaulted by invisible entities, which turn out to be her father and her dead father and her dead, I think, brother. And they're, it's, if you want to see someone get spit roasted by some ghosts, this is the movie.
That's my kink, actually.
Yeah, well, anyways, all serious, all jokes aside, this is one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen, because her performance is so good. To demonstrate physically being attacked like that by something that you can't see, that took a lot of talent. And she just sold that movie. Special effects by Stan Winston, special makeup effects. And he was just one of the kings of the 80s as far as effects go. And yeah, this is one of those movies that really, it's bothersome, but it's fantastic.
This one's definitely bothersome because this movie was based on true events that happened to a woman that she had a horrible life growing up and was, I guess, abused by her father and brother and probably some of her other family members, because she was like one of like 7 kids or something crazy like that. But yeah, I think that's also what was part of what made this one so scary for me is a woman like actually experienced this, I don't know, being sexually assaulted by an entity is just,
yeah, that's a
weird to me.
hard way to go out.
Yeah. It was hard.
Yeah, it's
Was that a joke?
No.
I can't wait for the two of you to see it, because
I definitely want to check it out.
It really leaves a mark, this one. Just the helplessness of it. She starts becoming like, she actually gets attacked in front of her children, in front of her family. And that's just like, and her kids don't know what to do and they're afraid. And it's like, it really, you've got this family pulling together to help her, but there's nothing anyone can seem to do. And this poor woman is just being, assaulted. It's just, I get chills thinking of it, but the movie is done so well. It's so well written and so well acted. It's, it's up there. It's one of my favorites. I give this one a 10 out of 10.
Do you know
Easily.
what streaming platforms it's on?
I don't, but let me see.
It's probably on like Amazon or something like that.
I mean, I own a copy of it,
Mhm.
so I just popped in. But, I mean,
Pop it in, pop it in.
yeah, well, that's a bad choice of words. But then
It's probably on everything, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on like Prime and stuff like that.
It's
so.
got to be. But anyways, yeah,
We can Google it.
Such a good movie, but you may want to watch it like in the morning so that when you draw the curtains, there's daylight.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, good stuff.
Alrighty, up next for mine is 2007 James Wan's Dead Silence.
No.
So, and it's so sad. It only got 21% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I will say, out of my James Wan movies, it's near the bottom.
I can see why people think it's stupid,
It's so creepy, though.
but it's so creepy. And I thought it was dreary and dreadful. And a little overview. After his wife meets a grisly end, Jamie Ashton returns to their creepy hometown of Ravensfair to unravel the mystery of her murder. Once there, he discovers the legend of Mary Shaw, a murdered ventriloquist whose eerie presence still looms over the town. As he desperately digs for answers, Jamie encounters the curse that took his wife's life and threatens his own. So it has a lot of the aspects of horror that I really like. Supernatural, mystery, true crime, sort of cult-ish, but just some of the visuals, like people that she kills, like they get their tongue taken out and then she can mimic their voices. I think that's super creepy. And then that scene at the end when he's at the theater where all the puppets were and they all start turning their heads to look at him.
Yeah.
Ugh. Little 10, 11-year-old me was horrified. I didn't want to go to sleep. Ugh, no. Just thinking about it now gives me the freaking heebs.
Something wrong with that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's something about James Wan movies that have brought in like this weird, creepy sense in dolls in me, and it's just it spawned from this movie, of course. this movie and Annabelle. Those-
Annabelle was crazy.
Yeah.
But those movies, every time I see a doll, like it's just creepy. Like I photographed a house the other day, and there was just a sunroom, and all around it were just chairs with porcelain dolls in it. I was like, no, I'm gonna shoot this as fast as I can. I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah. And just the twist for Dead Silence is like, for me, one of the best twists in horror movies.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie. I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in a while. I think the last time that we seen it together, me and Michael, were probably a few months ago or something like that.
Yeah, I remember watching the movie and then watching it again, knowing what you can kind of see in the movie and seeing
Yeah.
the little Billy doll on the shelf.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was
I
like,
think you pointed
"Aw."
that out last time when we
I
watched
was like,
it.
oh, it's a little James Wan Saw Billy doll.
Yeah.
It was cute.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that again. I like that movie very much.
It is
Yeah.
definitely, I'm in the minority, I think, on that being one of my favorites. I
Oh,
don't,
no,
I don't
it's-
hear many people bring it up.
People do like it though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad movie. It's just in the realm of James Wan movies. I'm not going to put it up top,
I feel you.
but it's good. It's definitely creepy,
Mhm.
and I do love the lady in it. She's awesome.
Marishaw.
Yeah, she's super creepy.
Creepy.
So for my next one is one that's pretty recent to us, recent as in an hour ago, is 2007's Paranormal Activity. This movie scared the shit out of me. And I've seen it 1,000 times. So tonight it didn't scare me as much as it usually does, but there are definitely times where I get the heebie-jeebies.
That's because I was screaming at the television.
I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna look at the cast. Like I can look at the cast, but when I look at them, it's just Paranormal Activity movies. It's like that's all they've done is just Paranormal Activity movies. And that's another thing I like about the movies is like when I started watching the movies, I wasn't like, oh, that's like Scarlett Johansson. Like she looks great in this movie. It was people that I'd never seen before in movies. So I couldn't relate to them as a character because I didn't know who they were. You know, I couldn't be like, oh, she was in this movie. They were in that movie. I'd never seen them before.
Mhm.
So when I watched the movie, I was like, damn, who are these people? Maybe this kind of is real. And, you know, that there was no like intro scene. It was just they went into the movie. You know, you see her pulling into the driveway. He bought a new camera, and she didn't say why they bought the camera at first, but then you find out later on that she's been haunted since she was like 8 years old, and she's kind of like, I guess she's kind of like the kid from Insidious a little bit. Like the demon is with her, like, you know, it's followed her along through all these things. And I don't know. I love the movie. It's so eerie. It's so creepy. They don't leave the house except to go into the driveway. The loud bangs that were, like me and Sydney talked about in the theaters, were just so fucking loud. And like even tonight, we watched it in the dark. We turned the the surround sound up, and it still wasn't even loud. It didn't even put into perspective on how loud those sounds were in the theaters. And at the time, I mean, it was just like every other movie, but they said it was the scariest movie that you'd ever seen. And like the trailer was just nothing but people like jumping out of their chairs in the movie. And it was creepy.
Yeah, the first time that I saw it in the theaters, I believe I was in either 11th grade or I might have been a senior, but I went and saw it by myself. Like I got the ticket, drove myself to the movie theater and saw it. And at the time, I was living with this family and they had 2 other younger children. And I remember after seeing this movie, I went back to the house and asked if I could sleep with the little kids because I was so terrified because my room was all the way in the basement and there was nothing down there besides the washer and dryer in my room and a bathroom. And so I just remember asking if I could sleep in the girls' room at the time because I did not want to go to sleep on myself. I was freaked the fuck out.
Well, let's talk about the budget first that this movie had. $15,000.
Right.
That's thousand.
And it made millions.
That movie made $194.2 million off $15,000. We could go get a bank loan pretty easily for $15,000
And make one.
Yeah, that's insane.
Mhm.
What did
Yeah.
you think about it, Jason? So I want to start off by saying, and when you went to the bathroom, I was talking to Sydney about this. I was like, damn, Jason, I'm surprised Jason does not hate this movie.
Yeah.
Because there's a little part of me that looks up to you for movie reviews. I've read your reviews, and I'm like, man, I don't know what Jason's gonna think of this.
Honestly, I hadn't seen it. I just never saw it. And I think back, after the Blair Witch Project came out, and, I mean, to me, that was kind of like a one and done, because once you get past the shock of it, if it has that effect on you, then you know everything that's going to happen, and it's not as impactful. But I mean, then again, maybe I was wrong in that capacity, but when I saw this, it was, it's interesting the tools that it uses to rouse you emotionally and also to frighten you in terms of the things that are going on with this couple. It's like, okay, this guy's a dickhead, and this woman needs to get off your ass and call this demonologist in LA. But at the same time, you realize that these are two people who, the guy, they obviously love each other. And the guy is, I mean, he's, going through it with her, trying to help her. But I mean, what do you do? I mean, it's, this demon's tied to her. And, they don't get any help. And things just keep getting worse and worse. And, I really thought it was effective in being, in being disturbing as it was, the scene where, it just keeps getting worse each night. And the one scene where it grabs her leg and pulls her down the hallway, that was like, that shit bothers me. It's like, that upsets me, because it's like, again, with, when I saw The Exorcist, I talked about it like 2 episodes ago, was the thing with The Exorcist is it made me, it gave me this fear of that sort of thing. And, I mean, I can put it in perspective now, but when I'm in a movie and I'm that engrossed in it, that fear comes out. So I thought it was pretty effective with that. And, the scene toward the end when she's downstairs and you just hear this throat ripping scream, and she's calling to him, and he just leaps out of bed and goes down there, and that's it. The screaming just suddenly stops. Yeah. And then it's just dark and you don't see anything. I don't like that either.
No,
that bothers me.
I can see people get pulled out of bed in other movies that aren't found footage movies, but the fact that it was found footage scared me more, because I was like, man, we're just watching somebody's weird ass tape. Because like I said, the movie didn't go into any. There was no intro credits or title card, and there wasn't any credits at the end until you sit down for a while. And you get past that ethereal sound, and then the credits start rolling. But at the beginning of the movie, it's like, this movie is in memory of Mika and Katie. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie definitely scared me. Even watching it tonight, I left my phone in the bedroom and I was like, Michael, can you go grab it for me? Because, I don't know. It's just, it's so realistic. And for the longest time when I first saw this movie, I thought that it was based on a real story. I had no idea that it was just a made up kind of movie thing. But I, for the longest time, thought it was based on a true story, because you don't really, the ending of this movie, you don't really, I mean, I know there's alternative endings and whatnot, but you just don't know what. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know what exactly happened to, what's her name? Katie. I wanted to know what happened to Katie. I wanted to know, I know Mika was probably dead, but I wanted to just know more. And so I think that was the joy of the movie too, is just leaving me wondering what the hell kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely a terrifying movie.
Yeah. It definitely startled me several times.
Yeah. What did you think of the movie, Sid? You've seen it before.
Yeah, I saw it. I want to say I saw the first one in the theater, but I definitely saw the second one in the theater. But yeah, it was back in the times where theaters were packed, not how they are now, not since COVID. I'd say not even since some of the shootings we've had, but they would just be packed, every seat full. So everyone's on edge and everyone's trying not to make noise and everyone screams they were so loud, Jason. When I tell you this movie would be so quiet, and then it would just be that loud banging sound, or the door slamming. That was so scary. I have to have no. And if the door is gonna keep slamming, shut the fucking door.
Who's gonna open the door? He opened it
True.
before.
True, but still,
It opened
Or
it.
lock it.
that too. Do something. But I guess this thing was so powerful that it could just do whatever. But yeah, it's super terrifying. Watching it now, I can see where people don't like it and where the characters are they're both kind of annoying in their own way. I mean, you can sympathize with her with this is very terrifying for her, but you can kind of sympathize with him because this is new to him and he's more like interested at first, but then he sees like how serious it is because he does play that macho man role the whole time. He keeps saying it the whole even till the end. We're gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix this. I got this. He's belittling the psychiatrist that comes in and belittling even her friend. It's like, can you just stop? And so till he finally finds out it's too late.
Yeah, when he
And-
brings the Ouija board out, I was like, dude.
You're a douche.
Yeah,
Yeah.
say you don't care
Like-
without saying you
Yeah.
don't care.
Like you're bringing this out is not helping the cause at all.
At all.
I think he was coming from a perspective of someone that necessarily didn't quite believe or know the severity of it because, she had just told him they had been together for 3 years and this happened to her when she was 8.
But her emotional distress should have been cause
Oh, no.
enough for him to back
No,
off.
it definitely should have. But
Yeah.
him being him, he just wanted to film every aspect of it and get it on camera, which I
It's
guess
great if you
in
stay alive.
in return kind of helped them see what was going on and try to get more clues out of it. But I mean, in the end, it didn't have any effects on them anyway because they died. Well, he died.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I did.
Would you rate it?
I'm going to give it a higher rating than I would have thought I would give it.
Yes.
And I would say, honestly, I'd give it like a 7.
Nice.
Okay.
I'd give it a solid 7,
Okay.
and be like, I could sit down at some point and watch that again,
Yeah. The other movies
after a while.
with the other movies, you kind of see technology broaden
Mhm.
into like their tactics on getting the ghost. Like I can't remember if it was in the second or third one, but one of them, they use like the Xbox Connect. And if you ever use the Xbox Connect, you can take it into like its settings and see where like it'll show you your room projection and how much space you have, and it'll show you the green dots in your room to like where you are in comparison to the Connect. And they use that in that movie to see like when the demon
In the second one?
It's in the
Yeah,
third-
in the second one, that's what I was telling you. Like, when we were in the car, I was like, okay, just give this one a chance because if you don't like this one, you should. It's gonna sound weird. If you don't like this one, you should watch the second one. Because I mean, it really. If you felt there were unanswered questions about the first one, like the second one, kind of like I said, they kind of line up and tie back into each other. But there's much more. There's many more cameras in the
Yeah.
second one.
a different use of
And
like,
you
Different use of the
also-
cameras.
Yeah.
You also like they put a name to the demon. Like you figure out what
it is.
what they call the demon. You don't really figure out what it is per se, but you at least get a name, So
And you get more story as the movies progress. So
yeah.
they're
This
like
was the
5-6 in at this point.
yeah. This was your spark notes
Yeah.
to a Paranormal, and then they keep going. But I love the idea of the Connect because I had a Connect, so I've seen those green dots, and it's cool to see that for sure.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It's almost like when you're on the like Snapchat filters and like another face pops up behind you, and you're like,
Oh shit.
just turn that off for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, no, I love the movie. It's. I didn't want to bring this one up in Paranormal, but I was like, this is a need in Paranormal.
Yeah, it's
I-
got paranormal in the
I wanted
name.
to wait for found footage for this one.
It can be.
It's not going to be both. It's not going to be both my lists.
This
it's
doesn't have
not-
to be on
it
both your
won't.
lists.
yeah, I feel like they don't make movies that are like this, like this is one of a kind of thing. Sure, there's probably other hauntings and like, with the Hell House that we've discussed previously, like found footagey kind of movies. But this, I feel like this is definitely a twist to what a kind of like an entity / demon flick is about, and I really appreciated it. I think I would give it probably a 7 out of 10. Reason being because the characters were kind of cheesy, but other than that, the plot was terrifying.
It was Paranormal Activity 4 with the dots.
Oh, I thought it was 2
No.
with the.
Well, at some point they'll see it.
Yeah.
No, but that does make sense.
Which one was the one with the 2 girls, the 2 little girls, or
It was
the
the second or third
No,
one, right?
this 2 little girls is 3. That's
3?
really the prequel, but I don't want to give you too much.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna watch them. I feel like it's a great movie series. There are
It
a
is.
couple that are like, maybe not. They're still worth watching for sure. I mean, the only one I don't remember is like that.
The Masked or the
No, the marked ones I remember
marked
because
one.
That's the fourth one.
yeah, that's like, is that the fourth one?
No, I think that's the fifth one.
Well, we were talking about it. Yeah, last time we were here. The one with the Spanish kids. I thought
that's
that.
the marked.
Yeah, that's
That's
marked one.
Is that 4 or is that 5?
I think that's 5.
We're gonna get this. We're gonna get
I
this
haven't
straight for
seen
everybody
them
that wants
all.
to see it.
I've
Yeah.
seen 4 and or 5 of them.
Yeah, I know. So the second one is with her sister, and then you kind of figure out a little bit more about things. And then the third one, I think the second one is the one with the little girl.
The third one is the first one is one we watch tonight.
Katie.
Second one is they have a dog in that one. I don't remember much more about
It's
that. I think they have
Christy's house.
a
It's the
baby
sister's
and a
house.
baby.
Yeah.
The third one they have the 2 little girls.
That's okay.
The baby monitor in the second one.
Yeah.
That was the scary one of the
The
second
fourth one is where they use Kinect, the Xbox Kinect and the green dots.
Mhm.
Fifth one is the marked ones with the Hispanic kids, and then you have the Ghost Dimension,
That's the one I have not seen.
which is
Yeah.
kind of strange. It reminded me, like in Donnie Darko, how you can see like the you can see like the little bubble come out of his stomach, and
Yeah, the
he
wormhole.
follows that around. He follows that around like his like plane that he has to travel through. It's kind of like that, where in Ghost Dimension you can see the ghost orbs come up and like form in like these weird gooey looking things that pop up. That kind of threw me off. The movie's cool
Yeah.
because it's just 2 like dads or friends that are just like hanging out with cameras in their house, and they're like pranking each other. And then honestly, the last one I don't remember anything about, which was the Next of Kin. That came out like 2021.
Yeah, I think we saw it together, and I just remember it not being. I mean, definitely check it out if you're into the franchise of Paranormal Activity, but I feel like they just kind of lost me on the last one.
Yeah.
Well, I think movies like this are important because, back in the early 2000s when they came out, I mean, horror movies are always going to be looked at by studios as risky. And even though, I mean, films like Terrifier, 3, what was the other? Alien Romulus, even Nosferatu, it's like these films make so much damn money. If the studio execs would just have faith in the in the directors and the writers and the creative team and just put up the money and stand back and let them do what they do, they could really, they could change the game. And I think these movies are en route to do that for certain, like Blumhouse. I mean, Blumhouse is, rose to power from movies like this. Paranormal Activity is one of its movies. So I just, it's really important to make a movie for 15,000 and make over 100 million. That's huge.
Yeah.
And to gain that kind of popularity, to become that much a part of the zeitgeist, is like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good movie.
Well, and where I don't really care for found footage, sorry, this one makes it work with the camera mostly being stationary, I would say 90% of the movie, which for me gave it points back because I don't like all the I can't see what's happening. I'm running around. Like, no, I don't like all that. So,
and what I love about that is that you have it moving around when they're talking to each other and you're like, hold it still. And then when they hold it still, you can't see what the fuck is going on anyway, because you can't see it.
Yeah.
So that's like a really interesting dynamic that it has going for it.
Yeah, I definitely think that if you don't have this on your watch list, then definitely check it out because it's different.
Yeah, give
you gave it a 7 or an 8?
Yeah, I did a 7 out of 10. Just because the characters are kind of like annoying and stuff. So that's the only reason why I gave it a lower number than.
I would only give it an 8, really.
Yeah,
So it's not too much higher.
I'll give it like an 8.5.
Okay.
All right.
It's just, it holds a special part to me.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fine.
I like it.
So I think the next movie that I'm gonna discuss that's on this paranormal / demon / entity list that we have going on is going to be 2013's Oculus. This is a psychological horror film. It was directed by Mike Flanagan. And
Mm.
I feel like Mike Flanagan really is an awesome filmmaker. He's done The Haunting of Hill House. He did Midnight Mass, The Fall of House of Usher. I mean, Doctor Sleep, just a few to touch. I do think he also did Gerald's Game.
Yes.
And the Ouija Origin of Evil, which I seen a long time ago and I don't really remember too much about it, but he did a couple of those. This movie follows siblings Tim, who is played by Brenton Thwaites, I think is the way that you pronounce his last name, and Kaylee, performed by the Miss Karen Gilliam. They basically reunite after Tim, who just got released from a psychiatric hospital for murdering their dad, who murders their mother. They are then joined together to destroy this mysterious antique mirror that was bought when they were kids. And then once you see, basically this movie has a lot of flashback to the past and to the present, and then to the, I wouldn't say future, but just past and present. We then learn that this basically antique mirror is cursed at their childhood home, who Kaylee still has possession of. They both believe that this mirror is responsible for their family's tragic in the past. As they confront the mirror's dark power, which then manipulates reality and distorts their perceptions, they struggle to separate hallucination from reality, leading to a chilling, mind-bending battle against a malevolent force. I really love that this movie switches between the past and present. It adds a lot of depth to the movie, and the performances, especially from Karen Gilliam, are extremely strong. I wouldn't say this is your typical jump scare horror. It's definitely not that.
Psychological.
Yeah, it's
horror,
very
for sure.
psychological. It's basically more about creating a creepy, unsettling atmosphere that lingers. If you enjoy horror that messes with your perception of reality, it's definitely worth the watch. I think it definitely has a lot of horror in it. I mean, from the beginning of this movie, when you see where it starts off with Karen Gilliam. What is her name?
She's like at work or something, or just getting off work, right? And then
Karen Gillan
yeah,
was in it?
Yep.
Really?
So
Yeah.
Kaylee, she basically, you see in the beginning of the movie, you see her go to this auction, and they're basically auctioning off this antique mirror. And you don't really know anything about this mirror until it starts going into the plot of the movie. And it flashes back and forth from when Kaylee and Tim were kids and how the dad bought the mirror. And then you see how like the dad starts becoming like acting weird, and then just like chaos happens. And I don't know, this movie was just really, it was just a good horror that wasn't a typical horror. Like there's not, like I said, not a lot of jump scares. There's a lot of play on past and present. It was good.
no, I love this movie. And when we went to Awesome Con for the first year, there was a bunch of like Doctor Who casts, and Karen was one of the original the companions in like the remakes of Doctor Who. And she was also Gamora
Mm-hmm.
in Guardians. No, not Gamora. Her sister. What's her name?
Nebula.
Right. Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. And so there was a big hype behind her for that. But I went knowing that she was in Oculus, because I've only watched a few episodes of Doctor Who.
Did you get her to sign your DVD or something?
No.
Oh, come on.
We so as press, we got to like sit in on the panels, and as did everybody else. But we could get up closer to the panels and take photos, and like professional photos instead of just like phone photos. So it was cool that I have photos of Karen like just talking, and she seems so sweet.
Yeah.
I love her accent. Like she's just, and I am one who is a huge Doctor Who fan, and seeing her play in the Doctor Who, and how she was just an awesome companion with Matt Smith and the other doctors, and like just seeing her performance throughout that, and then seeing her play a role that you wouldn't normally see her play in, like this horror / psychological thriller film. It was quite interesting to just see like her play in a different type of role.
It's not coming. Anyway, I loved it. I feel like this sits in the same realm as like the Lazarus effect
yeah.
for me.
Yeah, it's
You
just
guys haven't seen that.
It's
I
a
did see that.
yeah, it's a crazy like I mean just trying to figure out what this mirror like I know in some of because basically like a short synopsis of this film is basically Kaylee, who's the main girl in this movie, she rebuys the mirror and she takes it back to their childhood home, which she still has possession of. And they basically, her brother gets out of the psychiatric hospital and he's not really fully believing that this mirror has anything to do with why he killed his dad. He's in disbelief. So basically, Kaylee invites Tim back to the house and she has it like all set up. She has cameras in all the rooms. She has temperature things. She has a different, I think, like papers on what the mirror has done to past people. So she just starts going through all that. And then Tim kind of starts believing once things start happening.
And they have like traps set up too.
Yeah, there's a huge like what do you call it? A blade
It's
or
almost
something.
like an anvil attached to a blade that like if something trips it, the blade will fall and hit whoever's in front of it, thinking they're gonna catch this like demon entity, but it ends up killing her.
Spoiler alert!
Kills
If you
her.
haven't seen this movie yet.
Yeah, it kills her, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a twist at the end, which is what Michael just told
Whatever.
you guys. Gave away. But yeah, she sets all these traps up, and I think she has like a timer set for every 10 minutes because this mirror really starts messing with the depth of perception, depth of reality. It goes back into the past and it shows Kaylee and Tim as kids and how their dad started just acting weird. And then the mom ends up, I guess, getting possessed by this mirror at some point. And I don't know, it's just one of those movies where I could watch it over again and not like, feel like I would feel the same way as watching it for the first time. But I wouldn't go into this movie thinking you're going to necessarily get scared. It's just one of those that's going to make you think kind of thing. So 10 out of 10 for me.
It sounds like, it kind of reminds me of, and I think I've seen both of these, is Mirrors. If you've seen that one as well, it's kind of a little,
Yeah, it reminds me of Mirrors.
little bit like that. As
Yeah, it
well.
definitely has that aspect. This
Have
is
you-
just one singular old ass antique mirror.
Have you not seen Oculus?
I have.
Okay.
It's been some time since I've seen it. Probably, I wouldn't mind giving it another go, actually, and Mirrors. But I remember Mirrors was that one was a little disturbing.
Mirrors has that one scene where she like pulls her jaw apart in the mirror, and that was sick.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Yeah, that was good.
But I enjoyed them. It's sometimes it's I don't need like Lawrence of Arabia. It's like I want to just sit down and I want to be entertained and spooked and grossed out sometimes. Just move me in a direction with this thing, whatever it is. And I can enjoy a movie on that, on those merits.
And it was kind of like a different aspect into the horror genre too. Like there wasn't much. It was just a haunted mirror or a haunted object. So
I think I loved the fact that, like I've said before, that it switches between the past and present, and the performances of all the actors and actresses throughout the movie really gave it, a good solid 10 for me. And I love that it made you think. Like most horror movies, you kind of know what the plot is going down, but this one you can read the plot, but you really have to watch the movie to understand what the hell is going on. So yeah, it's different play on a horror / thriller film.
I held that in.
Yeah, and I like those movies a lot.
Yeah.
Those were pretty cool. I was impressed, actually. Yes.
It's your turn.
It's your turn.
So I think one of the paranormal movies that really, I think, scared the absolute shit out of me would have to be Poltergeist. My uncle took my brother and I it took us to see that in the theater, and then proceeded, when we were good and scared because we saw the fucking thing, hid under our beds and waited for us to like go to sleep and then jumped out from under the bed screaming. So that was, that wasn't okay. That was pretty fucked up to do, but it was just that whole night was just horrible. Tangina was like the OG, paranormal investigator,
Didn't some people die in this movie too?
Well, because the girl the older sister, her boyfriend killed her. Yeah. After the movie, I think after the movie, well, obviously after it was done, I think after it was released, maybe beforehand, but yeah, that. And then obviously, Carol Ann later on died of sepsis.
We're sad.
Yeah. But this movie it pulled all the right strings,
They're here.
It was so frightening and just emotionally riveting, but just, really scary. There was a lot of, like the guy who's the paranormal guy gets the chicken and it starts, the steak starts crawling across the counter and he goes, his chicken's got maggots in it and he pulls his face off in the mirror. I mean, it's just all, going to see that as a little kid was really jarring.
Yeah. What did you think of the remake?
I didn't see it.
Okay.
I heard it was a shot for shot anyway. A movie like that, honestly, it's hard for me to, look, the original's written in stone. It's made. Nothing's going to touch it. I just didn't have any interest, I really didn't have any interest. It's like, what could you do that would make that movie better?
Yeah.
And I just couldn't think of anything.
Well, I haven't seen the original in years, but I do remember watching the remake and I was like, meh. It was kind of one of those remakes that I just hated. And usually I'm all for remakes. Like, do it, whatever. I'll still watch it. If it entertains me, it's going to be okay.
Sure.
But this is one of those remakes where I just didn't care about.
Yeah. But it had a lot of lore to it also. And as the movie progressed, it was so well paced and everything just kind of opens up to you as it moves forward towards this moment, where they have to go in and they have to rescue her from the other side and God knows what's going to happen. Really suspenseful, just great acting all around. I love that movie so much.
Every time I think of that Family Guy episode where Stewie goes into the TV and he starts singing that Phil Collins song.
Coming in the air tonight. Yeah, that's hilarious. I remember.
Yeah, that was good. That's a good one. It was a solid movie though.
Love it.
Yeah, it's up there.
Love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember enjoying it. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. For my third paranormal pick, I picked Sinister.
Good
2012.
Good
I
one.
love that movie.
It's a good one.
so creepy.
It is. True crime writer Ellison is in a slump. He hasn't written a bestseller in some time in the movie. But then when he finds these snuff films, it kind of awakens him again. And he moves into the victim's house of, I think, the final or the most recent snuff film because they're dated. And then soon finds out that the house they're living in or these films have a supernatural, I would say, curse or entity tied to them. And just really what I liked the most about this movie is the snuff films. I thought that was a really interesting approach, as well as their pretty brutal ways to kill entire families.
Yeah, those films were very terrifying.
They were tough. I don't remember the second one being as good, like Sinister 2. Sorry. Yeah, this was definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. It was super scary. Saw it in the theaters.
I think the one scene
all I
or the one movie, the snuff movie was it the lawnmower where like they put all the family members, like they lined them up in the row and then they took the
In
lawnmower.
like a trash bag.
Yeah, and then they took the
yeah.
lawnmower. Yeah, that scene, and then the car scene where
In
they
the car. Where they're like tied up in the car.
They're
and
all,
just-
burned in the car.
yeah, and then they have I guess the gas or the exhaust pipe going into the car.
basically just suffocates them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those films and the actual like entity thing, like when you actually see like his face, like that
Because it's like what the kids are controlled by that entity that is causing them to do all these
Basically
these
kill
things.
their families.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's one scene where they're by a pool, and if you look closely, I have really good peripheral vision, and I saw the thing's face in the pool,
Yeah,
and it gave me this jolt.
yeah.
I was like,
It's one of the movies that
I don't
like
like that.
it's between Conjuring, Insidious, and Sinister. They all came out around the same time too, and I always thought Sinister was a James Wan movie. It's not.
No.
It's very James Wan-ish, but it's not. Those are the movies that I cannot put on when we go to bed.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Well, when movies like that come out, my initial response is to just avoid them because kind of like in a way, they're just all so similar. But when I kept hearing people say, no, see Sinister, it's really good. And I was like, all right, fine. I think I picked it up on Blu-ray for like $5 or something. And I sat down and watched it. And I couldn't believe like how good it was for what it is.
$5 well spent.
Yeah. I mean, it was messed up.
It kind of gave me, because Ethan Hawke is in it, and I love Ethan Hawke and everything he does.
So is, what's his name? Guy who plays Kingpin on Daredevil, D'Onofrio.
Mm-hmm.
He's in that for a bit as well.
But I don't know if you guys ever played the game Alan Wake, where it's about a writer that writes a book, and it has no similarities. But just because it was a writer, like a novelist, kind of reminded me of that. And I kind of just, it reminded me of that game, and I love that game. So I, in return, love the movie. But it's funny when you look at the cast, like if you're going through the cast, the people in the snuff films, like they just weren't a cast member. So if you're looking through the cast, you see like this guy, he was barbecue boy. This girl was lawn girl. This guy was pool party boy. This guy was sleepy time boy. Like, that's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how this film build tension. Like, it was kind of a slow burn kind of movie until you get into like what the plot is going to be once Ellison is his name.
Ellison,
Yeah,
yeah.
Ellison, once he starts going through the films and seeing like what's happening, and it really builds the tension with this film. And it's just, I don't know, it's creepy as crap, and it just kind of one of those where it does have quite a few jump scares as well. And yeah, I don't really remember too much of the second one as it being as good as the first one. I feel like the first one, it can't be beat.
Second one's good, but I don't need to watch it again. I watched it once.
I like the demon was really interesting. Bagul was
Bagul.
that was his name.
Yeah.
I really I loved how dark that movie got, because sometimes with the paranormal movies they only like to go so far, and this one went
Way
a lot farther than they normally do, and it was so I found it that kind of captured my attention, and I really loved what they did with it. I'd give it an 8.5.
It was kind of like, again, true crime and horror put together.
Yeah.
What you said about like building the suspense or dread.
Tension.
Yeah, tension, that too. Is like he watches these films like not all in one night, but like kind of collectively and like night after night. So it also still is like building up to like, oh god,
What's to happen?
These
or
films
what's
are
to
not
come.
good. Yeah, and like all these families were executed, and like
He was
They
still
can't
watching.
stop watching
and he
them.
can't
Yeah.
stop. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that they go into detail about what is his name? Bagul. Like, I
Yeah.
like the fact that they kind of go into the little bit of history about this demon and what this demon does,
Yeah.
and how he feeds on, children and them killing their families and all this stuff. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Kind of made me think of Long Legs
A
A little bit.
a little bit.
I mean, if you're going to be a demon, do some fucked up shit. That's what demons do,
Yeah, don't be a pussy ass demon.
Right, come on, man. Like Beetlejuice. I mean, come on. Beetlejuice is okay. Look, I love the original Beetlejuice, but he a pussy. All right, put him up next to Bagul, no contest.
Mm.
No, none question.
I don't know.
none
Bagul.
asked.
I think a sandworm could take out Bagul.
Probably.
Hey, Sandworm took out Beetlejuice. What's your point?
This needs to be a celebrity death match.
Right, except
Episode.
getting Bagul up to Mars or Saturn. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
Yeah. Well, my next and my last is going to be 2001's 13 Ghosts.
Ooh.
Good.
13 Ghosts is a fucking great movie. It's just so good. It's a supernatural horror film centered around a recently inherited mansion that is filled with a deadly secret. Story follows Arthur, a widowed father who's, after a sudden death of his wealthy uncle, inherits a massive eerie house. When Arthur and his children go to the house, they realize that this house is more than just a house, right? It's a mansion. It was like such a beautiful
It's
place.
so cool.
Like it was just all glass.
Ghosts aside, I would love to live there
No, I mean maybe with the ghosts, just keep them in
in their chambers.
in their chambers. Yeah, but you find out that like all these ghosts, all these different like demon ghosts are trapped in their own little chambers for a certain reason. They all have their backstories, and then you later find out that he was lured by his uncle because his uncle never died. Lured him into the house to make him the 13th ghost, and then it backfires and his uncle becomes said 13th ghost. Or well, his uncle dies and he still becomes the 13th ghost, but he's just not dead, so he's not a ghost. So it's like
Spoiler.
pussy ghost.
If you haven't seen a 2001 movie,
Yeah, I'm sorry if you haven't seen a 2001 movie. Then
You deserve to have it spurled.
spurled.
Yes.
speaking of sandworms,
We just looked at the TV. There's a sandworm on the TV.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
We
I
could cut
think
that.
this was a really fun, fast-paced horror film that had a lot of creepy moments with the ghost and just the suspense, and each ghost had like this unique backstory and eerie design.
Yeah, I love that.
I want a series, and I heard about it in talks for a little bit. I want a series about each ghost. Just make it 12 episodes.
About each one?
Each one. Each ghost. Because each ghost is different.
So each episode would be a different ghost.
Yeah, just give me a quick little American
like
Horror
I-
Stories style episode,
That's cool.
and I'll be good. Because I want a story about my two favorite ghosts. It was the Angry Princess
mhm.
and the Bound Woman. The Bound Woman didn't do shit.
Right.
She didn't do anything.
They
She
didn't
was-
really give her a chance.
I mean, well, she ended up cheating on like her football boyfriend or whatever, and he ended up killing her and like burying her under the football field or something. I think that's her backstory, and I would like to see an episode about that.
Which ghost was the one trying to help them, or the ghost that was nice?
was that the booby ghost? Didn't they have the ghost of the mother or someone?
I think the mother did come into play because I remember they were down there with the little boy was down there with the ghost and stuff, and the mom was definitely trying to help out from
Maybe that.
yeah.
I love the
Wasn't there a Mickey
jackal.
ghost
That's my
with
favorite.
the cage on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's cool.
That one was like, yeah, man, if you can bite through that cage, that is a ghost with whom you should not fuck.
Yeah, it was the withered lover
Mm.
was the spirit of of Arthur's deceased wife, Jean.
And Matthew Lillard's in it.
Matthew Lillard is in it.
Yes.
I love that opening scene when they're just like spraying blood all over the junkyard to get the ghosts to come out.
Because they're looking for the Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That is a fucking monster.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be like a finale episode if they were to do all the
Was the Juggernaut in the house? I can't remember.
Yes.
Well, I think so, because I think that, like I said, that's the opening scene, and they're
Yeah,
trying
trap
to
him.
get him. Yeah, I
The glass
thought.
doors with all the spells and incantations. And,
Yeah.
Good stuff. It was neat.
It was a cool movie. I enjoyed it. But I still want that series. I want backstories on the ghosts. And there's a huge fandom online that also wants it too. So
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like if we are in for a spooky, slight cheesy kind of movie and some cool ghost lore, then I feel like this is a movie to definitely put on your list.
The makeup effects were great.
especially for its time, like
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
I mean 2001, sorry. 2021 it would have been crazy.
Yeah, the visuals were really cool too.
Oh, what was that one guy that played on
The guy from the Monk.
Corky Romano?
Oh yeah.
What is his name?
Oh god, what was his name?
Shoot.
He was in You Guys Want Some Cookies?
I forget what Corky Romano, and he also played that frog. Looking for a turtle. No, that wasn't the same guy. Never mind. I can't think of his name right now, but he was in it too, right? He was the guy that was the adjuster.
He was in the movie. I'm just trying to think of his. I'm trying to pull up his name. We should have looked at this.
Corky Romano, dude. I don't know. He played in the house.
Chris Kattan.
It sounds familiar. But...
Yeah, from Saturday Night Live.
That guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Corky.
That's what I remember him from. And he played on the House on the Haunted Hill. That was also a
I enjoyed
great
that.
movie.
That was on my list. I took it off.
I still love the original. The original is the best one for me, but I did like the remake.
Is just so campy and
yeah,
so
nostalgic.
That scene with like what was the camera or like whatever when they points the camera into the operating room and you see all the ghosts in there. I love that scene.
Yeah, it's got some cool visuals in that.
Yeah.
The second one though was straight up doo doo.
Oh, I didn't even. Yeah, I didn't.
I just want
not worth the watch.
I want an amusement park that's like the amusement park in the remake, where like the coasters go off the tracks and you see all the dead people come off of it, and like there's that tower that just
the
you
elevator
think is falling, but it's not falling. It's just a TV on the bottom. I want that. That'd be cool. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that we discussed some really good paranormal movies. I think it was cool to hear each of our top movies in that category. It was interesting to hear about some new movies that me and Michael need to definitely check out. And I think all of the movies were really good.
Well, I laughed. I cried. I'm forever changed.
And you're scared tonight when you go to bed?
No.
Because of Paranormal Activity?
Not at all.
But yeah, I think that's good. If you guys liked it, make sure to leave a review on all these streaming platforms. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube. So if you're really feeling crazy, drop a review. Make sure to follow all our socials at Horror Speaks Podcast.
Tune in for the next episode.
Aren't we doing like pandemic films?
So many on
contagion films, kind of like headlining
viruses,
the sadness for that one.
Definitely gonna check out the sadness.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, make sure to check us out, leave a review, follow us all, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right.
Stay spooky, my friend.
Later.
Bye.